So full disclosure, for somebody who wants to be a writer, I sure always had a problem actually writing. What I used to do was I would write in bursts. I would not write for months and then write like over the span of a couple of days, really get to it and really try to write, and maybe write a few thousand words, but then stop again and go back to try plotting and stuff, but not actually write. And then last year I made it a point to really create the habit of writing, and this worked very well because now I am somebody who writes every day. Not well, but I do write every day. Between having the idea for this project in 2019 and up to 2021, I wrote about 100,000 words in this project. Compare this with now, May 2021 to May 2022, where over the course of 1 year I wrote around 810,000 words, and that was basically the output of the challenge that I set for myself to write every day for a year. I think when it comes to writing every day, there is always this question of, do you need to write every day, or can you create some sort of consistency by writing once a week or having set times or whatsoever? Personally, I don't think you have to write every day. The reason why I did start writing every day and why I am sticking to this habit is very much because I struggled a lot to create consistency. For this reason, I set the challenge to write every day to make it something that is so normal and so ingrained in my everyday life that it isn't hard anymore, that I don't have to think about it, so that it becomes second nature. That's why I am sticking to it now, even though the challenge is done, because I don't actually trust myself to not fall off once I stop writing every day, and also because the way I set up this as a habit made it part of my day. So it's actually really easy now to do it every day, even though I have a full-time job or I might have life events or so on. I created this habit by following the principles from Atomic Habit, the self-help book that basically gives you a guideline on how to create habits. And the key principle that you apply here is that you don't set goals, you create systems that you can follow every day. And that is basically the approach that I used in order to write every day. So to create this system, the first thing that I did was to define a set time window when I would do my writing. For me, it was important not to have a set time, because the time window gives you more flexibility on getting something done, even though you're not necessarily at the same point during the day, every day at the same time. So that way you can still make sure the habit sticks, even though you don't necessarily have a set time. For me, my time window is in the evening because I'm most productive in the evening, and also because that is when I have most flexibility with my time, right before bed. Obviously, you could also do it in the morning, but for me, the important thing was that the time window is set at the same kind of event every day. So for me, it's in the evening when I go to bed. That's kind of my time window. And sometimes that happens at around 11, sometimes that happens at around 2 in the morning, depending on if I'm free the next day or not. But it doesn't really matter because that's the time window. Then the next thing that you need is some sort of measurement unit. So what I used was word count, a way to track your output and to give it some sort of numeric value, because this is the easiest way to get started with tracking yourself and seeing if you're making progress. Obviously, there is a debate for word count, right? Because just because you have a lot of words doesn't mean that it's actually quality or that it sticks in the final draft. So for me, the reason why I picked word count was because it's the easiest way to get started with the tracking. And for me, it was really, the problem was that I wouldn't write before, right? So I wasn't accountable for it and I didn't do it consistently. So word count was the easiest way to see every day if I am consistent. Also the motivational factor, because you kind of get the feeling that you're getting something done, that you're creating output. So I picked it as a good starting point to start with becoming productive. And then the next step would obviously be to actually get some sort of quality measurement in there. But right now for this challenge, for this habit, it isn't necessary. So I would recommend that you pick some sort of measurement unit that is numeric, so it's word count or numbers of pages, whatever helps you to track the output. What I didn't pick is time, because I didn't want to have like a set amount of time that I work on something. I wanted to ensure that I have a set output, and that is why I picked 2000 words every day. So the reason I picked 2000 words every day was very much inspired by Stephen King's On Writing, where he writes that he writes 2000 words every day. So I tried it out for myself and I measured how long it takes me to write 2000 words. Is it even feasible? And for me it's about an hour to 2 hours every day to get those 2000 words. And that was feasible because I am writing in the evening, and it doesn't really matter if it takes me an hour longer on some day or not, because it doesn't matter to me that I sleep an hour less. I'm kind of very flexible with my time in the evening. But it's important to mention that for me those 2000 words are not clean words, they're just draft words. So they're very rough draft words. It's a first draft, and it's by no means the kind of output where you are sure that it ends up in the final draft. It's really more exploring the story. So that's one of the reasons why I'm definitely much faster than if you actually wrote something clean. So if you are picking a set number that you want to achieve every day, keep that in mind, what your drafting approach is, and obviously how flexible you are for time. What I found is that I did try out different drafting approaches, and some of them are much faster than others. So for example, writing a scene fully is much more effort because you have to get all the details, whereas when you kind of write a summary of an event that happened, right? And those are different techniques, approaches to making the output much faster. But that's kind of something that I want to touch up on in another video, what kind of drafting approaches I tried out, what kind of techniques there are, especially for a first draft. And then finally, what you will need is some way of tracking what you're actually doing every day. I used this website called Pacemaker, which I found I would recommend it very much when it comes to a writing project, because you can create your own plan and you can define the plan very differently depending on what you need. What I did is I set up a plan for a year and set a daily output goal of 2000 words. And then you can actually add how many words you wrote that day, and it gives you the number as well as what your goal would have been. What you have here is a way to see all the days that you have to still do. You see how many days you already did. You see the overall word count of what you did so far. So I very much liked this approach because it's very easy to track, and it also has like all the features that I needed in order to track this experiment. So in practice, when you want to set up the system, what you need is 4 things. The first thing you need is some sort of cue. So we said that you have a certain time window when during the day you get your writing done. So for me, I decided I'm doing it in the evening, and then the first thing that you need is a trigger that reminds you to actually do the habit. That's the cue. And for me, that was brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed, because it's something that is a fixture in my day. No matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing that day, I'm always brushing my teeth and then getting ready to go to bed. And so what I did is that I would do my writing right before going to sleep. So it's basically brush my teeth, get ready for bed, sit in bed with my laptop and do my writing there, right? Just before I'm going to sleep. And this way I'm always reminded to do it because it's happening after something that I'm already doing. Then the next thing that you need is to create a craving to actually want to do the habit. For me, in the beginning, the first 2 months, that was more of a struggle, because in the first 2 months you will find that it is tougher to do it every day. It is something that you have to force yourself to do. During those 2 months, my craving was more to want to complete the challenge, right? So I set the challenge for myself. I want to write every day for a year, and I'm tracking it, and I want to achieve this kind of thing, and I want to see how many words I can write in a year if I do this, right? And if I stick to those 2,000 words every day. Then after those 2 months, it became very much a habit. It became very normal. It wasn't daunting anymore to have to write every day. So at that point, the craving was very much, I am now in my story every day. I'm very much focused on the story. I'm starting to really connect with the characters and kind of like the plot and so on. And at this point, it was very much, this is me time to figure out what my story is, to tell my story to myself, and to do something that I actually like doing. And that is something that sticks with me even now, a year on, very much. I'm very involved in my story, and I love kind of like having that time in the evening where I can just sit there and write my story. Then the next element is the response, and the response is basically doing the thing, doing the habit. There's really nothing to be said other than you have to sit down and you have to obviously do it. And then the final element to the system is the reward. So once you have done it, the habit, you should reward yourself and do it in a daily way so that you will always be motivated to do it again tomorrow. So create positive associations and keep the motivation alive. For me, that was very much the tracking, because as you can see on this tracking website, they do work with elements that will keep you motivated. So for me, the seeing how many words count up every day, and kind of seeing it's more and more words and it's starting to become like a really high number, that was very motivational, because it's this high score principle that you also have in games. Also the streak of seeing, I've been doing this for the last 100 days and I only have so and so many days left to achieve my goal of doing this for a year. That was also very motivational, because you don't want to miss a day. So you do have certain motivational aspects already ingrained here in this website, but I think you would also have the same effect, obviously, when looking at my draft and seeing the pages pile up and kind of feeling the funny thing of 50,000 words used to be such a massive accomplishment, and now I'm so far past that, and it starts to really even become normal to write a lot, and you're not really scared of it anymore. You kind of have this mindset shift of it becoming like this thing that you do every day. I'm not a good writer, but at least I write, right? So progress. So those kind of motivational factors, they very much play into this reward thing of having this yay moment every day that keeps you coming back. And for me, that was this everyday thing of tracking it and seeing my progress, and the overall goal of seeing where will I be in a year, right? And what am I working towards, and comparing where my draft used to be and where it's going, those kind of factors. I think the best thing about having tried this for a year and having created this habit is that I now feel a sort of ease when it comes to writing. I don't have this constant nagging feeling that I should be writing, that I'm just like plotting away but I'm not actually creating output, or this fear of sitting down and what should I be doing. So now writing every day is so normal that even on days where I'm very busy and I don't have a lot of time, I might not write 2,000 words, I write less, right? But I do write every day and I do create output every day, and it's this normal thing that I like doing that doesn't cause me stress anymore. And because of that, I feel like now doing this is a great way to get started in order to start to create consistent output. And then the next step for me now is to start actually working on craft and focusing on quality.